here with Kylee Walker this morning. Had some questions. I actually had a lot of coaches reach out to me in the last few days, and with the weight allowance and stuff. So I thought it'd be kind of fun to maybe answer some questions, maybe get
hmm
get the right answers from the union. But before we start, and I'm a humble person. When I've been beat at something, I admit it. And you guys have the better shoes this year. Man, those Nikes they're sweet. They're pretty
I wish I
nice.
was wearing them today. They're pretty cool shoes. They actually started Tanya, who started in our office in July as well. She had them. She found them on Amazon for like $70. And we
No
were like,
kidding.
oh my God, we need these. So not everyone has them, but we've started to slowly, a lot of people have them. They're fun shoes.
That almost hurt my soul the other day when I saw you and you have those
hmm
on. But no, let's get into this.
hmm
First question we had, a lot of people were, it's still confusing with the 2 pound allowance,
hmm
not having to make a scratch weight any longer. Um,
hmm
you said you had a weigh-in sheet you were going to pull up.
Yes, I
And why don't
do.
we look at that just to explain that?
hmm
Because I've had people ask, "Hey, should I click the 2 pound allowance on the weigh-in sheet?" And that is a big no, correct?
Yeah, correct. Yes. So kind of to get started, there's a difference between the growth allowance and then a consecutive day allowance. And I always point people to look at their weight descent plans, which is different than weigh-in sheets. And that's really the space that holds all this information. Anytime I get a call about something, I always ask the name of who it is so I can go look at their weight descent plan because everyone's different, right? So
Yep.
on this here, you can see that there is that 2 pound growth allowance, and that is put in there at the beginning of the season. Before any of this information is in there, that is always in there. So everyone gets that 2 pound growth allowance. It's not someone else versus the other. It's everyone gets that 2 pound growth allowance. So right now you could see that this 115 here could weigh in at 117 or 122, right?
Yep.
Just with that growth, with the growth allowance. And then there's consecutive day allowance on top of the growth allowance. I've gotten that question a lot, is how does that stacking work? How does that all work? Because really in our heads, it looks like 4 pounds, but it's still only 2 pounds because that growth allowance is already in your track wrestling, already in your sheets, already accounted for as part of our platform. Um, so with the consecutive day allowance, you can see here that that's also, you got the 1 pound consecutive day allowance, the 2 pound consecutive day allowance, and the 2 pound growth allowance, different. It's different for everybody, different depending on when you're competing. But that's something that you can still have the consecutive day allowance on top of the growth allowance, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. And actually, we get that this weekend because someone is wrestling both Thursday, Friday, and
hmm
Saturday. So it's the girls were very excited to hear that they were
hmm
going to be able to weigh in another 2 pounds. So they were pretty pumped
Right.
about that. Another question that comes up, and
hmm
this happens all the time. You will see somebody where their descent plan has them lower than what they're wrestling.
hmm
And if they weigh in above the descent plan, it resets their descent plan and all that. So
hmm
setting minimum weight classes. Um,
Yes.
and I know that can be kind of tricky
hmm
because if you do it and someone says, "Oh, I want to go lower," that's a no-go, right?
hmm Yep.
So what's your recommendation on
Yeah.
the setting minimum weight classes?
hmm First of all, I think at the beginning of the season, setting the minimum weight class maybe isn't the best thing, but I'm getting to the point right now in the season where I'm seeing a lot of people starting to set that minimum weight class because they're getting their weight descent plan is penalizing them for that,
Yep.
like you just so here, the thing with it too is when you weigh higher than your two eligible weight classes. So say right here, 115, 120, she weighed in and wrestled at 125 here. It would completely recalculate her plan and you cannot see what it was before. So it would automatically change this to 120, 125. And that's where people get confused because they're like, well, earlier in the week it said 115, 120. Now it says 120, 125. Well, because she weighed over her two eligible weight classes, it resets it. And the only way to know what it was before that is when you do the math and see it.
Yep.
So here you can do the math and see that she was here for 2 weeks, so she can go down to here. So
Yep.
that's kind of how we solve those questions where we get that. But something that we recommend to stop that from happening is setting that minimum weight class. So say she was set to maybe go down, obviously this is an example, not this exact
Yep.
one, but
Yep.
say she
Yep.
was set to go down to 105 for this year, it would have her calculating down to 105 this whole time right here. So she would be consistently going down and say she doesn't want to go down, well, it's going to keep moving her down until you set that minimum weight class. So you're going to keep violating your plan if that doesn't get set to the correct number. It gives you that option because it gives everybody the correct option to safely lose weight throughout the season. But if you don't want to, not everyone needs to, depending on the lineup, whatnot. That's my recommendation, is definitely setting that minimum weight class to clean up the descent plan. And then you have something that looks more like this, where it's okay, she's definitely not going below 115. So she's 115, 120 the entire rest of the season.
Yeah, and actually, you hit that right on the head. It could have gone to 105,
Mhm. Yeah, I
but
kind of thought
uh,
so here with that minimum weight.
yeah,
Yeah.
so we could have been to 105, I believe, or maybe 110. I can't remember
110.
exactly what it
Yeah.
was. But so I set the minimum weight class for us,
Mhm.
and that's something I learned the hard way my first year of coaching as a head coach.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's something I like to let people know about. Um, and just to reiterate, it's almost like the weight class has shifted. We can
Mhm.
almost say that it is no longer 110, it's 112. So
Mhm.
sometimes people get really, really confused with that. When is the last date that you could switch your weight and still, at regionals, can you switch your weight at regionals before stepping on the scale?
The 29th, I believe, January 29th, the day before.
January 29th. Okay, the day
Yep.
before is the last possible date to switch that. I wasn't sure
Yep. Hmm.
if how we did
Which
that.
actually, I'm sorry, weight lock down here, January 30th. So that's your
January
minimum
30th.
wrestling weight lock is at the bottom of
Okay.
this weight descent plan.
Oh,
It's a
so
great
then
question.
that's like the day of, isn't it?
Hmm. Yep.
Wow. So that makes your life even easier.
Right.
Because I even apologize. I sent you a message and I should have read the notes. But
No,
what day are you planning on having regional dates out?
they will be released on Tuesday, December 23rd. Aaron found that in the past few years, they were wanted out before break. So that's why we're doing them earlier, with knowing that there's going to be a lot of changes in the last month. But that's okay. That's kind of just how the sport goes. So.
Yeah. I was kind of wondering if your hair would look a lot like mine at this point in time.
We were just talking about that because I've had my nose in the maps for the last probably week and a half now, and I've done just about everything I can do up until this new set of rankings comes out. So,
Yeah.
kind of waiting for those because there'll be a lot of movement, I think, in the last week with the growth allowance. And I'm excited though. I think we've got them down to pretty good spot for where we're at right now. So,
Yeah. One thing that I think people need to know, and I know it's because I've talked to Erin, when she was doing these, I
mhm,
talked to Madison last year when she was doing these. Um, you guys put a lot of time and effort into trying to
mhm.
separate people out,
Yeah,
but it's a big state and it's pretty
it
impossible to
is.
to do that.
Yeah.
How many hours would you say so far you've spent?
Ooh. Well, we spend time all the way up into like early when we're picking the sites. So we pick the sites knowing like, okay, who were our powers last year? What are they bringing back? Are we going to be able to spread things out? And we'll have to do something after regionals is out and kind of showing my spreadsheet and what it looks like, because I think it would be very good for people to understand kind of what goes into it. So I take all of the schools. Um, in that region. I put them based on geography, and then
Uh-huh.
I go through and rank the top as teams. But it's hard because the team rankings don't show your individual, right? So
Yep.
then I put all those teams in there, and then I go through the projected weight class assignment survey that I was hounding people to do. Is important because then I go in and put a number one for each weight class. And then I go back and I put color code based on the rankings. So 1 through 4 is gold, 5 through 9 is purple, and then blue. And then I'm going back and I'm saying, okay, how many ranked girls are here? Do I have two gold and one weight, like 125? Say I have two gold there. Well, I got to change something. Someone's got to move, right? And then I just continue and do that over and over and over. I probably did that. I mean, I did it all week. I spent all week doing it. So the amount of times that schools get moved around before they actually find a home it's an interesting process. And I think people would like to see it for all of our sports, really.
Yeah, it's crazy. It is absolutely nuts. I actually got this question last night, and I had
Hmm.
the same exact thing happen to me. Had a parent message me,
Hmm.
and I don't know the situation, so I really won't, say too much about it. Said, "Hey, if my daughter transfers to a new school, does she have to sit the 90 days?"
That's a great question.
And there's nuance to that.
There is. We have a whole transfer and eligibility team that we refer these questions to, because I don't even know the scope of what this looks like. But if someone does have a question, I would gladly take an email and pass it along here in our office to make sure that they have the correct answer, because there's different rules for different situations for sure.
Yep. Yeah. I just basically gave him you can be released now. That's the thing. So the school could
Mhm.
release you and say it's okay. If you actually moved and changed your address, I think that's an okay thing
Yes.
too,
Yep.
right? But other than that, if you just up and move during the school year, or not move, just up and switch schools during the school year, you're probably planning on a 90-day wait,
Yep.
unless there's circumstances.
Hmm. Yep.
Um, State information.
Hmm.
When will state information be out? And just the basics. When is
Hmm.
that, or is that already out on the website?
Yes, I have started. I actually turned on our Tournament Central this week. So you can go find that on our website. It's actually, our website's a little bit different this year. We got a new website. So it's on our main homepage, and then it's also under the wrestling page that everyone's been using to find information at the top. So I turned that on this week. I've got the schedule on there, some maps on there, hotel accommodations on there. Um, Other than that, I mean, tickets will go on sale the Saturday after regionals again, which I know is a big thing. We're hoping maybe we won't see. I mean, it's a good thing to have sellouts, right? That's a good problem
Yep.
to have. But with our schedule change, um, hopefully we can allow for some more attendees to come see all the fun. But that schedule's on there. Trying to think what else is on there, but I will continue to add more information there. That's where regional assignments will be held. That'll also go out on our social media on Tuesday. So yeah.
Awesome. What are some of the big changes as far as schedule change on state? Because I
Hmm.
know you've done a lot to accommodate
Yeah.
more people.
Hmm. We broke up that Friday morning session. So instead, on typically on Friday morning, the past few years, we've had it just one big session with class 1A and class 2A. And that seemed to be our biggest session with the quickest sellout. So we split that into two. So on the first day, on Thursday, you'll have class 1A and then you'll have class 2A. And that same thing will happen on Friday. We'll have class 1A have its own session in the morning, clear the building, and then have class 2A come in. So we've technically then added another session. And I think by splitting that up, then you have 8 mats for a whole class that morning. With that, we will have our placement matches that morning for third and fourth and fifth and sixth, seventh, eighth. Will all be that morning. So that Friday night will just be the finals mats. We were actually working on it this morning, kind of that setup, what that looks like. We're hoping to add a ton of chairs to the floor, so you can fill it with teams and athletes. I think it'll be a really fun environment. Um, and yeah, we're excited about that. I think it'll be very telling too, as far as I know, we get a lot of questions on if we have to move, all these sellout problems, whatever. So I think this year will be very telling for us on next steps.
Gotcha. Uh, is there any questions that you've been getting on just really regular that you'd like to
Mhm.
maybe throw out there real quick and
Yeah.
address everything?
I think the biggest thing is a lot around the weight descent plan. And I really just push, I know it's a lot to understand, and it's definitely something that I'm taking notes on and something that we can almost create like a packet or something that makes it a little bit easier to understand. But I always push people to this. Just because it really is a good guideline to fully understand and know it like the back of your hand. The one thing I am getting a lot of questions on is when you can use your 2 pound growth allowance, and how you can use that 2 pound growth allowance. So it's different here for Tegan because she's 115, 120 for the rest of the year, but she
Yep.
can use that growth allowance at both of her eligible weight classes, which is something that I've been getting a lot of questions on here this week.
Yep.
Um, so that's just a good thing to point out. I'm trying to
So
think
let
what
me
else.
stop you there. So if
Mhm.
you could take, so this was this is a change that happened last year from the old way. You used to certify
Yeah.
weight, that was it. So let's just say she was weighing her eligible weights this week were 120, 125, but eventually she could get to 115. She could
Hmm.
still take the 2 pound allowance at 125.
Hmm.
and then later take it at 117. Because again, the weight classes shifted more so than a growth allowance.
Correct. Yes. Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep. Trying to think what else are some questions that I'm getting. I'm sending out a memo today, actually, talking about undergarments. That's actually been something that's been an issue this year more than maybe in the past. I don't know why. I think there just maybe needs to be some more education on that. So I'm just
Yep.
sharing out those rules a little bit more, and the proper way to handle those situations. It's something that I think we think, oh, the officials maybe should handle it, but we're going to come up with some guidelines for next year. But for now, I put some wording in there, some resources in there, just so people have a little bit more knowledge in that area.
Yeah, I think the one thing I've seen this year more than other years is the metal clasp on
Yes.
bras. And
Hmm.
I pointed out, I feel like I'm old grandpa anymore in this sport, so I don't feel bad about pointing that out,
Hmm.
especially to coaches. And I usually do it when the
Right.
other coaches are around, but I let them know probably wouldn't wear that at regionals because you're
Yep.
probably gonna have a minute and a half to go find a new bra to change,
Yep.
you know.
Yep.
So yeah,
Yeah.
that is a really important thing to get to
Hmm.
discuss ahead of time.
Yeah.
They don't want to have that happen. I've seen it
Yeah.
happen at a national tournament before, and the girl had to
Yeah.
run and go find something in a minute and a half. So yeah, not
Hmm.
easy.
No, it's definitely something we want to address before we get there. And one more thing too that I'm sending out my memo that I want to touch on is seating criteria. So I'm going to send out in my memo directions on how to verify and check the seating criteria in track wrestling, to make sure that it is correct. And if it's not correct, sending me an email, all those things. But just our returning state qualifiers and making sure we have all that information and put it in there. And I think it's a good thing that we can, as coaches, can look at maybe over the winter break. So,
Yeah, well, that definitely is good. If people want information, obviously the website. It's
mhm.
Iowa. I couldn't pop off the letters if I went.
IGHSAU.org.
Very
Yes.
good. And then what also has a ton of information in a short period of time, Monday Minutes on
Hmm.
YouTube. Man,
Yep.
that gives you a lot of information for that week and definitely something to watch.
Yes.
I can't think anything else. Do you have anything else you want to throw out? And
I don't think so. I think that is the main stuff. I appreciate you having me on here and getting to pinpoint some of the questions that we've been getting. And maybe this is something we can keep doing in the future for sure.
oh yeah, yeah. If there's anything that comes up, I love to get the information out for people. So, all
Hmm.
right. Well, thank you much. Have a good rest of your
Yeah.
day.
Thank you.